A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
This is Andrew McLennan. The Bible speaks much about life, and as Christians, we are great believers in and defenders of life. And part of that is the life of an unborn child. And many Christians all around the world are waking up to this truth that we must defend the unborn. There are many great organisations that have risen up in Australia in recent years, and one of them is called Love Australia. And they have a march this Saturday in Adelaide called Love Adelaide. And one of the founders of this organisation, Jodie Pickard from Love Australia, joins me now. Jodie, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me.
Jodie, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I love hearing your heart and your passion and the truth that you declare. Tell us about the march this Saturday in Adelaide.
Okay, so this is actually our fifth annual Walk for Life that we're having this Saturday coming up, which is the 10th of February. And it's going to be at Pennington Gardens, which is at North Adelaide. It's actually the park that's opposite St. Peter's Cathedral on the side of Adelaide Oval. So if you know Adelaide well, that is a very famous landmark, and it's easy to find us. And we meet at the park at 10 o'clock in the morning. The gates are open at 9 o'clock, and we have about an hour in the park where we have some amazing speakers, which I'll talk to you about that in a minute as well. And then we go on our walk.
Yep, and you march through the city. So that's the nuts and bolts of the march. But Jodie, I want to hear your heart. What is the heart behind this walk on Saturday called Love Adelaide?
Okay, Andrew. Well, first of all, I really want to just start by saying that, anytime we even just mention the word abortion, it can be really hard for people to hear that word if they've been hurt by abortion. And we know that there are countless numbers of men and women in Australia that are hurt. So I always want to point people to where they can go for help, which is pregnancyhelpaustralia.org.au. And their phone number is 1300 139 313.
And that's called Pregnancy Help Australia.
That's correct. Yep.
So
having said that, obviously our heart is to help people to heal, but also to make our community aware of what is actually going on. Each year we pray about what the theme of the walk will be. This year it's every life is a gift, which actually comes from Psalm 127 verse 3, which says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. So we want everyone to know that they are a gift, each one of us, and including our children that are on their way in the womb, and how precious every human life is in the eyes of God, which means that they're precious in our eyes as well. So that's the theme of the walk this year, but we've got an exciting guest speaker coming this year from America.
Yeah, great. What's his name?
Okay, so we have got the Director for Expansion from Love America, and Love Life America is the ministry that I connected with. First heard about it back in 2019, and we basically are partners with them. And Pastor Brian Ottinger is coming out to be our guest speaker at the walk this year. And his role with Love Life America is he's going all over the nation, speaking with pastors and churches all over about the message of life, and in particular speaking about the role that churches can play when they become a house of refuge. So that's really exciting that he's going to be able to share his experience of what it's like for churches to become a house of refuge.
Yeah, that sounds like I did look him up on the internet, and he looks like a great guy, very passionate defender of the unborn. But let's go back to the heart behind this march and this organisation, Love Australia, Jodie. Like, what really drives you and your team to do what you guys do?
Well, it all sort of came to quite a head for most people around in each state as our legislators went around all of our governments and have legalised abortion up to birth. So that is across the board now. I don't know if everyone is aware of that, but there is no state or territory now that does not have legalised abortion all the way up to full term, which, I think in the world we're probably one of the most extreme nations of allowing this type of abortions all the way through to the end of the third trimester. So at that point, we were all already around this subject, but we all got very activated to try and stop it happening in our state, in South Australia. We went very close to actually stopping that part of the amendment of the bill, which would have stopped abortion at the point of viability, which, of course, we're not for any abortion. We believe that if we support families well enough, then they won't need to turn to the abortion clinics for help. They will have all the support they need to be able to continue the pregnancy, and also on the other side of it, reintroducing the gift of what adoption is to our nation, which has sadly really fallen away.
Yeah. Do you think the average Australian realises that every state in Australia now has late-term abortion legalised?
Well, we did a lot of just speaking to people on the street around the time that our laws were going through in 2020 and 2021. And, from my experience, and I literally spoke to everyone, if you were near me, you were going to hear about it. If you were on the bus or you were anywhere, you were going to hear about this. And in honesty, I reckon about 80% of people had no idea that we were even past about 12 weeks, let alone that our laws were already at viability stage and now up to full term. So I think there's still only a very small percentage of people who even know this has happened.
Yeah, so how are you guys engaging? Obviously, you're doing a walk on Saturday in Adelaide, but how else is Love Australia trying to communicate this to the average Australian that this is now ratified by law in Australia?
Well, the walk is a really big, important one, because from there people are educated, they know what they're talking about, so that when somebody in their family or friends, when this conversation comes up, they can confidently say, no, that is not correct. This is actually what's going on. So coming to the events is really important. Thousands of people are then activated to then have conversations. And I really think that it is a one-on-one conversation with people you know. Well, I've just said I just spoke to strangers. So, you can do that as well if you're brave enough. But I think it's important that, even around your dinner tables, that we actually, where it's appropriate, that our children are old enough to have this conversation, that they're aware of what our laws are, and to let them know that just because a law has come in does not make it right. We've had this in the past where we've had to retreat out of unjust laws, and this is a very unjust law. It shouldn't be here. In America, as you know, we had the overturn of the Roe v. Wade, and they're about half their states now have, if not moved all the way back to a heartbeat, that once there's a fetal heartbeat, there cannot be an abortion, or very close to that. So it is something that can be over. In America, that overturn of the Roe v. Wade, that was the second time in their history that they've done that at the Supreme Court level. The first time was when they overturned slavery, and we certainly know that was wrong as well.
Yeah, it was a remarkable victory there for the pro-life movement. But going back to your walk this Saturday in Adelaide, what sort of interest have you seen from local groups, churches and individuals so far?
It's actually been the most that we've ever had, which is really saying something. So as time's going on, people are starting to hear more and more about what this is. We have big meetings. So I meet with the Vicar General of the Catholic Archdiocese. We meet with the head of the Greek Orthodox Church, and then some of our Protestant churches. More and more of them are actually engaging with us. Some who have not engaged before, this year they are. So there's a real excitement that across the whole body, we're seeing something that potentially could bring the most numbers we've ever had. So we're praying for the weather to be kind as well, because we know that will make a big difference. But we're excited that we think we might have some really great numbers come out.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure prayers are a really important part of your ministry and your organisation, because when you think about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, I honestly believe in my heart that was the prayers of millions of American Christians for many years praying about that issue, and God heard those prayers, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I speak about the difference of what America's done and what we're yet to do. And I believe it was a threefold thing, basically, of their strategy that went over decades and decades. So it was public prayer and public repentance. They have been doing that for decades. There's been a lot of that, as well as privately, individuals and individual churches. So that was happening. And then they had the strategy of putting into their parliaments Christians and people who will uphold righteousness in their government. So all across all the states, there has been and continues to be people engaging into the political sphere, which is super important. And that's why when the Supreme Court overturned Roe, they already had, I think at that time it was about 12 states that had already passed their legislation to wind back their laws the moment that Roe was overturned. And that was all done because of the decades of work preceding that. And then the last thing is that also over those decades is that they were building pregnancy support. So we all know that there's going to be lots of people who still need lots of support with an unplanned crisis pregnancy. And America, at the overturn of Roe, they had 3-to-1 pregnancy help centres to the number of abortion clinics.
Wow.
So yes. And so this is where I believe that we have got a lot of work to do fast, because I really don't think that the Lord can really move strongly in this until we've got the support in place. We do have pregnancy help centres, but not nearly enough. And that's why we're so passionate at Love Australia to get the word out about the House of Refuge ministry in churches, because that can actually help in this gap.
Yeah.
That churches can be literally little mini support centres of their own, and then from there reach out for more help to the pregnancy help centres.
Yeah, just amazing. Well, Jodie, I just want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us, and I sincerely hope and pray that this Saturday's walk or march in Adelaide is a huge success, and that awareness just keeps spreading through the Australian community, and that we will see positive change and some pushback against these laws, which are just almost, they're almost unbelievable, aren't they? But Jodie Pickard, I just want to thank you again for your time today.
It's my pleasure. And if people want to come, they just need to get a free ticket, which they can go to the loveadelaide.org.au website and register their free ticket.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.